You're such an asshole.
A young man writes, it's a short request, but I had to sit down and put some notes together, so it's going to be a lengthier answer. Making a video request, please keep me anonymous. Hello, Energized Realist. I'm making a video request purely for the benefit of anybody who views your content. Discuss the necessity of attaining self-awareness to free the individual from the mental constraints of their respective prior and post-generational peers. Simple questions are never fun to answer. Enjoy. Kind regards, I won't mention your name. I'm like, God dang it. So I had to say, all right. What this ultimately boils down to, I have my notes here, but I'll give you kind of an overall view. What this boils down to is whether the individual, I don't even necessarily want to say is smart enough to, but has the courage to, or the compunction, or the balls even, to abandon tribalism and acceptance as the main reason for making their life decisions, and instead uses self-respect, empirical evidence, and reality as the means by which to make their decisions in life. And you have to understand what a huge evolutionary, psychological, biological, biophysiological hurdle that is to basically deprogram yourself and overprogram or override your genetic hardwiring, where you are conditioned to go with the flow, agree with the tribe, this tribalism, to agree with the clan, because your survival in the past highly depended on being accepted within to the clan. Whether you thought you should pray to the rain god didn't matter, because if you didn't, the tribal chief and most everybody else would burn you at the stake. You better believe in the rain god, all right? Because we all believe in the rain god. Why are we killing the blues at the nickel revolts when we're the greens? Well, because we're the greens, and by God, you better not side with those blues. People we see even remnants of this today. I knew a guy, he went down to Soldier Field to see the Chicago Bears play. I think they were playing the Vikings. And the Vikings scored a touchdown and he cheered. And this guy who was a Chicago Bears fan just reeled back and punched him right in his face. And you can laugh at it now because we're standing out, but that's tribal, that's genetic progress. So that's what we're trying to override. How do we go away from a Neanderthal moron punching somebody in the face because somebody else's team scored a touchdown and wasn't your team, to someone who is self-aware and can start making decisions in life that is going to help him or her live a better life because they're basing it in reality and not acceptance or popularity or tribalism. So, all right. There's three areas, or three subsegments of self-awareness you have to become self-aware in, I say, in order to make that transition from instinct to conscious frontal cortex thought, so that you don't let your peers, no matter what generation they're from, influence you and thus determine your life outcomes. All right. The first one, self-awareness of your mentality. This is absolutely necessary and the number one thing, because you need to realize you're going to die. All right? This gives you the incentive and the energy and the fuel to say, okay, I'm going to live a different life. I'm going to be different. I'm going to go out and do my thing. I want to live my life on my terms. This is my life. You are aware of sovereignty and ownership of your finite time on this planet. And by God, I'm going to do it before I pack it in and die and put back underneath the ground. So understanding your mortality is the first key thing of self-awareness. The second thing is that you do not have to be what society conditions you to be. Now, this is a hard one where you got to overprogram your tribalism, but realizing you're going to die, and it doesn't matter if you're the most popular kid in middle school because Susie Q said you should wear the pink bonnet when you want to wear the blue bonnet or whatever goes on in middle school nowadays. Realizing that you do not answer to society. I mean, you answer to them in law, but you answer to yourself. Society doesn't get to tell you how to live your life, aside from don't murder and drive the speed limit. But you get to largely determine what you're going to do in life, and you don't have to obey society. And this, you don't think about because it's so automatic. It's so ingrained and so sewed into the fabric of our society. But I remember and I'm sure it's something like today, just like you guys have to get your tattoos and shave your head and dye your hair and have Chinese symbols tatted on. In our day, you had to wear Cavaricci jeans, you had to have Nike high tops, you had to roll your jeans, or you'd get in fights. You'd get in fights. And that's how bad it was. Now, but it doesn't, we're not just talking clothes in middle school, but there is conformity. Society wants you to conform all over. You all must be leftists by the time you graduate from seniors as high schoolers. And then you better be leftists in college. Because why, these people who've never worked a real day in their life, never set foot out of the K through college system, they know what's best. And if you're not, by God, you're a bunch of nasty, nasty, mean names, homophobe, racist, sexist, whatever they want to talk about. You all have to get married. That's kind of going away now. But back in the day, you all have to get married. And then sports ball. You all got to like sports ball. You got to watch the game. You got to play sports. You got to watch the game. The game is so important. So that's early on. Now, this conditions you. You could say, well, what's the harm in... Okay, so you had to wear a certain type of clothes. Or colleges, they want you to be leftist. Well, they're leftist. Okay, what's wrong with marriage? What's wrong with watching a game? There's some things inherently wrong with those things unto themselves. But it's the conditioning that prepares you for the real world. That when you work, you are essentially a programmed willing slave. Where you will, through vanity, enslave yourself to, and I hate to sound so conspiratorial, but it is true, to the state by paying taxes and corporations by giving them money. And it happens in part with leftist programming, where it's like, we gotta vote Democrat because I care so much. But more importantly, think about this. Why do women insist on driving Range Rovers? Why do men insist on having fancy cars? Why do people always insist that they have to have bling in the fancy house? Well, that's how they've been conditioned and programmed. You have to compete. You have to be better. You have to have the best Range Rover. You have to have the XLS series. I don't even know if that's a thing, but let's just say it is. You can't have you can't have the 2013 Mercedes. You need the 2018 Mercedes, Chadius McWinthrop, the fifth. And I saw this in banking where and these aren't young people. These are older people. These are people in their 50s and 60s who should have known better, should have been raising grandchildren, but they were still doing the peacock chest strut thing going out. All right? Girls have to have their what is it, the Coach bags and the Larkin bags, some other bag that's like $60,000. Men always pulled up in their lease Beamers. It's all fake. All fake. But look at how much they enslaved themselves. They did. They enslaved themselves to the government, because they've got to pay at least a third of their taxes. Then they enslaved themselves to the banks, where they borrowed money and paid interest on it. They paid thrice the amount of interest on a house and a car than the actual house and car cost if you just paid cash for it. Enslaved themselves to every corporation that provides them every little knickknack. Doesn't have to be big purchases. Doesn't have to be a car or a house or a mortgage or anything like that. But eating at the fanciest restaurants and that, all on credit card debt, all paying more interest, all of the finance industry. Also, they could ultimately what? I mean, I know you guys give me guff when I dress like crap pretty much every day. All right, and every once in a while I'll put on something nice. You're like, oh my God, what happened? But I don't buy fancy clothes. I certainly do not buy fancy cars. I do not have a fancy house. But I'm free to do what I want. I have so much free time, it's wonderful. I'm a free man and I get to live my life. That cannot be said for at least 85-90% of Americans. When you throw in all the material goods and services they've bought that they can't afford, their student degrees that are worthless that they want $150,000 in debt for, their mortgages that they have for McMansions that they can't afford that they got to keep the thing up for, the furniture, the clothes, the cars, everything. You guys, okay, you want to see fake? You want to see faker than fake? I'd say you visit this when you come to Minnesota before you come visit the Mall of America. Go to this place called Cove in Edina. All right, Edina's like that. Oh my goodness, they're like, oh, it's faker than fake that ever faked. I went there last night, dropped south, and buddy's like, oh, it's a new Cove. I'm like, is it the Cove in White? They're like, yeah, but this is the new one. So we went to the new one. Holy fucking fake tits, Batman. And holy old dudes still trying to like keep it up and like think that they're gonna go and score themselves a milfy cougar tiger. Oh, was it hilarious! And I guarantee you, bar like 10% of genuinely rich people, I probably had a higher net worth than 90% of the people in that place, because it was all fake. It was like middle school because it was more all people my age. I looked around like, wow, it's like they're still wearing Cavarici pants, but it's a new model, or it's the same shit. No one grew up or matured or wised up. So that's where all of a sudden, if you do not attain self-awareness in terms of you do not have to do what society tells you, it has a cost and consequences. So the key thing here, how to achieve this level of self-awareness in this particular category, that I don't have to do what society tells me to do. Everyone says, I love it, it's just the biggest hypocrisy, I'm independent-minded. No, you guys aren't. If you have to say that, you're lying. You're not independent-minded. Everybody claims to be independent-minded, but then they make the exact same choices that everybody else makes because conventional wisdom in society told them to. Go to college, work hard, get a side office, get a job, get a mortgage, all that other stuff. Well, if you make the exact same decisions that everybody else does and society tells you to do, guess what? Your results are going to be the exact same. You're going to be a normie. You're going to be a conformist. You're going to be nothing special. It's almost the quickest way to piss away your life and make sure you waste it, is by doing what everybody else tells you to do. And that's sadly the existence of most people throughout the history of the world, is they did what everybody told them to do. And then, but America and Western civilization, modern day, is a little bit more interesting and hypocritical. They're like, what the fuck? I did everything I was told, and now I don't have my $8 billion and my bitches and hoes and my mansion in Beverly Hills. It's like, yeah, you deserve that bungalow if you could even qualify for the mortgage, your crappy used Beamer that you could barely afford, and your toiling labor or student loan debts for your worthless degree because you followed your heart and you thought the money would follow. And now you're normal. You're just like everybody else. So if you want to be scared out of what society's always going to threaten you. If you don't wear these jeans, we're going to beat you up. If you don't do this, you're going to be poor. Yeah, but if you do what they say, you'll end up like them. And then just look at them and see if you want to be like them. And you don't. You don't. Because they're all... I love the concept of vacation. I get 3 weeks vacation. Oh, wow, you do? Ooh, you're allowed off the plantation for 3 weeks a year? Wow. When do you retire? 10 years before you're expected to die? Hey. Oh. So that should prompt you to have self-awareness in that it's almost a guarantee. If society says to go X, you want to go Y. Now, of course, there's some wisdom in society, but that's all right. And then the third area of self-awareness is as it pertains to acknowledging others, and they are the most important thing in life. In one hand, I am a misanthrope. I have very little respect for people at all. But what few people are important to me in my life, they're the only real reasons worth living. Because what you're going to do is, because you've been programmed and conditioned, you think it's things. You think it's having that McMahon. I thought this way too. I'm not trying to slam on you guys. But like, I remember, you want to talk about a long time ago, going and taking the bus to Montgomery Wards to buy a color TV. I'm like, dude, I got a color TV and I'm going to have girls over. I'm almost there, man. And I'm like, I can't wait to, make $250,000 and this and that. And it's like, no, that's not the most important thing. What you're aiming for there, I'll grant you this. When you're younger, you're working through Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and you think happiness is like having food, clothing, and shelter bought and paid for, like you're set. And there's some element of truth to that. There's some element of truth to that where you don't have to worry about food, clothing, and shelter. Like if you could become someone independently wealthy, or at least you're set, you're comfortable, like you're not worrying, can I afford a Subway sandwich? There is some contentment and ease and psychological less stress, but that's not happiness. True happiness comes in the self-awareness that you are ultimately only defined in this world by your relationship to other people. And that is ultimately what defines your value. Who likes you? Who hangs out with you? Who do you have in your life? So this is where family and friends and loved ones come in. Your spouse, do you have children? This is why when you have kids, I say your life is over. Their life's begun. Now you get to enslave yourself to them. Your family, and friends. Never discount friends. Friends are awesome. Friends are great because they're family that don't owe any blood allegiance to you. They just hang out with you because they like you. So when you realize that that is the most important thing with in life, is hanging out and spending time with other engaging, interesting people, then all this the material shit drops off quick. Heck, that's the principle behind Poor Richard's Retirement, where I'm like, look, if you realize that people are the most number one thing, it makes retirement a lot easier because you don't have to save up as much money for all this crap you idiots buy that society told you to buy, which you should get this Christmas. Poor Richard's Retirement. All right, now, let's say you achieve these 3 principles of self-awareness. You go through what I like to call the wake-up phase. You wake up, and once you achieve, you wake up, and you start to realize how little everybody else knows. Your peers don't know shit. Your college graduating buddies, like I get a kick out of these guys. And gal, there was one gal. I'm in the military. I worked in the trades right out of high school. And it's 4 years later, and all my friends are graduating from college, and they're all excited, and I feel like I'm falling behind. And I find out, like, oh, wait, so you're a sergeant in the Army, and you saved up $50,000, and you put a down payment on a duplex, and you're renting it out to your buddies, and it's cash flowing? I think the gal, she was some kind of tradeswoman. But something that said she had like 25 grand saved up, had this job, was making $35 an hour, and she still felt bad. I'm like, are you kids nuts? They don't know shit. Your college graduating peers with their masters in English or their bachelors in communication, whatever they're getting, they're conformies. They did what society told them, and they're about to get their ass kicked by reality. And so when you have this self-awareness, and you start having this independence thought, you start to realize, just not that they're lying to you, they are lying to you, but not maliciously. A lot of times these people are unconsciously lying to you. So, these cubicle slaves, these corporate go-getters, they're not going to have great careers. The guy with the leased Mercedes or the queen bee with her Range Rover, it's all leased, it's all borrowed. Trust me, worked in banking, saw the balance sheets. These people do not have the money. They do not own those vehicles. You realize they're bullshit. You just start to realize just what percentage of this world is built and made out of bullshit. And I think the true waking up instance in my life was when I was just ramming heads with my bosses back in the build-up to the housing bubble days. I'm like, we should not be approving loans. These loans are bad. What is wrong with you? I kept getting yelled at. I kept getting disciplinary actions taken against me. And the day that the FBI agent came in and said, you're not going to work on, not me, he told he wasn't even my boss, he was just this dickhead banker who thought he was my boss. He says, you're no longer working on that file, we're taking it, he's under investigation. And then that was when it's like, that was the snow that started the avalanche to the housing bubble. And I was proven right. I realized, holy shit. Doesn't matter if they got gray hair, MBAs, they're my boss, they're the senior grand poobah, CEO forever, beloved. They don't know shit. And it's universal. Doesn't matter if they're CEOs or they're very high IQ individuals. Doesn't matter if they're your professors or the person on the boob tube telling you what to think over at Fox News or CNN. These people don't know jack motherfucking shit. And that these people are wrong. And you can see it. Now, it helps to study a little bit of minimalism. If, again, you'd like to read my books, that helps with it. Bachelor Pad Economics Week would be great. Worthless, and not enjoy the decline. Poor Richard's Retirement. But it's not necessary. But it does help to start studying minimalism. Mr. Money Mustache, Early Retirement Extreme, those type of things where you have numbers attached. Like, this is how little you really need to retire. This is how little you really need to live. That minimalism and the love for your fellow man, and realizing that most other people are full of bullshit and they're conformings and they're just going down that way because of tribalism, they don't think, it wakes you up. And then you have not even no compunction or genetic desire or instinctual pull to agree with people and go with the crowd because it meant safety in numbers and tribalism. But it's almost, they said to do X, I'm going to go Y. They said to do A, I'm going to do B. Not that, again, not that society doesn't have some wisdom in it, but when you start looking at the fake lives people live, you're aware, not only you're self-aware of yourself, but you're self-aware of these people. then you do wake up, and now you're like, whoa, you really, it's like Neo at the end of The Matrix. He actually starts to see the world for what it is, just the ones and the zeros, the bits and the bytes, and he can understand what's going on. That will happen, maybe not today or tomorrow, but that will happen, and you'll be like, oh shit, that guy with the beamer doesn't know what he's talking about. That professor doesn't know what she's talking about. The dickhead on the TV, he certainly doesn't know what he's talking about. And they're all telling me to go leverage myself up into debt and go get worthless degrees and worthless McMansions and cars I can't afford. So what? I could go drink and party and use my credit card, which is pretty much all of America right now. Fuck that. Go read a book, listen to a podcast, go hike, go ride a motorcycle, go do something. Chase girls, chase boys. Raise wiener dogs. But then you wake up and you start to realize the world for the bullshit that it is. And then the final stage, so that you don't become a conformity, and not that you would at this point, is what I like to call the unbiased judgment and decision-making phase, which I just made up. Where now that you got a real pulse on society, now you know how society really works, now you know what the point and purpose of life is. You are truly self-aware. Now you can start making decisions that are based in the real world and follows the reality principle and are in your best interest. So no, I'm not going to major in international studies. I'm going to major in mechanical engineering, and I'm going to join the military to have them pay for it. And I know that that's going to take some commitment and all that, but society kept telling me that I could just follow my heart and money will follow, and there's such a thing as easy money. No, I know there is no such thing as easy money. I'm going to put in my dues at the military. I'm going to get my degree, so when I come out of the military, I'll still stay in the reserves or the National Guard. I'll get a little bit of a pension. I'll make 60 to 70 grand coming out of the military. I'll be way ahead of my peers. I'm not going to borrow debt. I'm going to drive a piece of shit car, and all of a sudden you're retired at 42. All of a sudden you got, your house paid off. And there's a couple of them. You've heard them here on Asshole Consulting. A couple, I don't know what it is with Europe, but these guys are like, I'm sitting on $300,000. I make $100,000 a year. What do I do? And I'm 38. You're like, dude, you won. That's it. Throw it in a high dividend paying mutual fund and maybe buy some rental property and keep working and hope for the best. Then you get to like this whole other new post-scarcity world where it's like, oh, what do I do now? It's like, we haven't evolved this far. So humans in society, we haven't gotten this far yet. Matter of fact, there's only 3 of us here. Ask Bill Gates. I don't know what he does. He donates money. He flies around. What do you do? In other words, since you've gotten rid of all the bullshit, you can see the real world for what it is. You start making decisions that are based in the real world. And since you make decisions based in the real world, and not what you feel or like or how things should be, like your teachers and professor told you it would be, and your mom and dad lied to you, and the media lied to you. You make decisions in the real world. Alright? Again, I'm going to major in engineering, not English. I want kids. I should probably have kids before I'm 30 so that they're healthy and I have time to raise them. I don't like living in this particular town. I think I'm going to move and go do a little bit of reconnaissance, find out what else is out there. And as long as you have that self-awareness and the ability to see the world for what it is, and you are no longer biased by society to be tribalist, conformist, and all that, these decisions pay dividends because they're based in the real world. They're not based in lies. And over time, your life gets better, easier. I wouldn't necessarily say more financially profitable. I mean, it's not like I can guarantee you're going to get rich. That requires like you come up with some business or you pursue entrepreneurship or something like that. But life does get easier, especially compared to your peers. And you see this drop-off, especially in your 30s, where you got to realize how much of a fake environment K through college and even the 20s are, where it's all government money from the taxpayers going to pay for your schooling in this fabricated environment, K through 12. Then you go through college, which is just as fake, but now you got parental money and scholarship money and more government money, and then everyone wonders, with all this money flooding the markets, why is tuition so high? But you don't have your parents there watching over you, and then then you're also thrown in, oh, by the way, you're all independent-minded and really, really are the smarts. Then this crazy world forms. Then you get out, then you're in your 20s, some of you are going to grad school, but then your parents still keep financing you, keep floating and floating, and then it's like your late 20s and the 30s where, yeah, your parents are sick and tired of supporting you, you're not going to get any more government handouts, there's no more programs to help you out, there's no more student loans you can take out, and that's when it, bam! And then you really start to see the conformies and the normies versus the true self-aware, independent-minded people. And again, I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be financial success, although typically it is so. But that's where you start to see the tradeswoman or the military the sergeant also start to pull away from their peer group. And then all of a sudden, oh, you're the one with the house, you're the one with no debts, you don't have any car loans, you don't even know what your credit score is because you don't borrow money, because you don't need it. And then all of a sudden, yeah, you actually have an adequately funded IRA. Your house is almost paid off, and all those other, and you don't have student loans. And that's where it's like, because in my day they used to say, just wait till you get to college, and that separates the wheat from the chaff. It's just high school version 2.0. It's not, and not even in your 20s, like, yeah, finally we're out, now we're all coming. No, I saw friends, mom and dad, here's some rent money, I'll pay for this car, here's a car. I'm like, fuck! If I just had a tenth what you got, I could be a millionaire. And, but then, yeah, it all of a sudden starts to change in your 30s, and then certainly your 40s. So, anyway, so that's how self-awareness allows you to escape from the conforming-like nature of what your peer groups, no matter what generation, tells you should do. So spread this video around if you liked it. Tell people to go get Poor Richard's retirement. Spread the good news of Cappy. And I will catch you kids later. Toodles.